Hi, and welcome to this instructional video on how to prepare, assemble, install, and get the most out of your Lone Rider motorcycle lights. As this product receives ongoing software updates, the version demonstrated in this video may differ from the one currently available. Features may have been changed, improved, or added since this video was made. To ensure you have the most up-to-date information, we release an updated video when significant changes occur. In this video, we will demonstrate the complete installation process for the following bikes and mounting options. In the description below, we've marked the different chapters with timestamps so you can easily navigate back and forth between the different sections. So without any further ado, let's get started. With every set of Lone Rider lights, the following items are included. 2 light pods with pre-installed C-brackets, 2 blacked out covers, 1 schematic overview, 1 Y-splitter, 2 1-meter extension cables, 2 20 to 25mm bar clamp mounts, 2 L-brackets, 1 set of anti-friction rubber strips in different thicknesses, 1 set of 3M bar protection film, and 1 tool set consisting of Torx and hex keys and 2 mini wrenches. If you happen to mix up the screws and washers, here's an exploded view showing how all parts were originally assembled at the factory. If you've ordered a bike-specific variant, you will also receive a MotoCAN. With each MotoCAN, the following items are included. 1 bike-specific MotoCAN, 1 USB-C to micro USB connection cable including a USB-C to USB-A adapter, 3 MT 3-pin male connector stub set, 3 MT 3-pin rubber plugs, 1 spare micro USB dust cover, 3 MT 3-pin blanking plugs, and 20 zip ties. And if you don't have upper crash bars, we also offer undernose mounts for the R1300 GS, the R1300 GS Adventure, and the R1200 and 1250 GS and GS Adventure. More undernose mounts for other bike brands and models are currently in development. Although every light pod, MotoCAN unit and cable is carefully inspected and tested before leaving the factory, we recommend running a full pre-installation test of all components. That way you'll save time if any part was damaged in transit and isn't working as intended. The MotoCAN has 4 connectors: red, blue, yellow, and white. It's crucial to use the white connector for your motorcycle lights, so connect the Y-splitter to the white connector. The other connectors are intended for accessories like brake lights or heated gear. If you don't plan to use them, make sure to attach the blind plugs. Connect the 2 extension cables, and finally the light pods. It's now time to connect the system to your motorcycle. Start by removing both seats. Under the passenger seat, locate the XDWA connector, disconnect it, then plug in your MotoCAN as shown here. Now connect your MotoCAN to the battery. Start by disconnecting the negative pole to prevent accidental short circuits. Attach the orange cable with the fuse to the positive pole. Then connect the brown cable to the negative pole, ensuring the negative pole is always connected last. To download the MotoCAN software, click the link we've left in the description. The software is compatible with both Mac and Windows. Download the version for your system and install it. Before a new MotoCAN or ezCAN can be used, you must first connect it to a computer via the included USB cable. Make sure the software is open, then turn on the ignition. You'll be prompted to download the latest firmware version and register your MotoCAN or ezCAN. Click the link to be redirected to the registration page and fill out the form. Once you've verified your email, you'll be prompted to update the firmware. Proceed with the update. Important: turn off the ignition before continuing. Then, complete the firmware update. Turn on the ignition to load the user interface. You should automatically be prompted to configure your motorcycle lights by scanning the EasyBus for connected units. Click Scan. After a successful scan, a new interface will appear showing all the lights' features. If the automatic prompt doesn't appear, you can manually scan by clicking the burger menu, then selecting EasyBus devices and scan. If you're using an ezCAN, note that you may need to manually set the white channel to EasyBus for the Lone Rider lights to function properly. To do this, click the white channel and select EasyBus from the available options. Next, make sure that the fuse of the white channel is set to 15 amps to prevent the lights from turning off when they operate at full power. Now perform a general function test. Check that both lights shine with equal intensity, respond correctly to high beam activation, and do not flicker. The DRL rings should also illuminate at the same brightness. If everything operates as expected, we can move on to the full installation. If not, contact our customer service using the link in the description. Permanently install the MotoCAN and make sure the cable routing is tidy and well organized. You can pause the video to study how we did it. For a clean, professional cable routing, it's essential to remove part of the bodywork. This step is also necessary in order to install the optional undernose mount. Route the Y-splitter harness as shown here, ensuring the cable is not pinched. For easier installation, you can use double-sided tape to keep the Y-splitter block in place, though it's not required nor included. We recommend positioning the Y-splitter block on the right-hand side to avoid interference with the tank cover compartment. Route the two cables outward on each side, placing them between the tank and the airbox. Use any kind of tape to secure the single Y-splitter cable in place. This will make reinstalling the tank cover easier. Don't forget to reconnect the USB charger cable. The tank cover should go back on smoothly without any force. If you feel resistance, one or more cables are likely jammed underneath. Double check the cable routing to make sure everything is positioned correctly. To fit the Lone Rider lights to your lower crash bars, you will need the L brackets and the bar clamp mounts. Install the bar clamp as shown here. If your crash bars are powder coated, use the included 3M protection strips. If your crash bars are smaller in diameter, use one of the included rubber strips for a snug fit. The bar clamp mount and L bracket include attachment screws in 3 different lengths. Use the shortest screw and a rubber dampener to start installing the L bracket. Place the rubber dampener between the bar clamp and the L bracket to minimize vibrations to the light pod. Tighten the screw a bit, but not fully. For an easier installation, remove the C bracket from the light pod. Take the longest screw and insert it into the C bracket. Attach it to the L bracket and secure it with a lock nut, along with a wedge locking washer. Tighten the screws slightly, but not fully. Next, tighten the hex screws on the bar clamp and make sure it's aligned vertically. Then tighten the L bracket screw. Ensure the C bracket is level and facing straight forward. Finish by tightening the longest screw fully. Now, install the light pod into the C bracket. Tighten the screws enough to hold the pod, but leave some slack for angle adjustments we'll go through later in this video. Remove the 2 screws of this side panel. Feed the cable up through and behind the fairing and connect it to the Y-splitter. Tuck the unit away and reattach the fairing. Before completing the installation, secure the loose cable with a couple of zip ties and trim the excess. Repeat the whole process on the other side, then reinstall the bodywork. If your R1300 GS has a set of OEM auxiliary lights installed, you'll need to remove them first, as our undernose mount uses the same attachment points. Seal the open connector ends with either blind plugs recommended by a local BMW dealer or electrical tape as shown here. Tuck the loose cable inside the fairing. Remove the rubber dampener from the bar clamp mount. For an easier installation, remove the C-bracket from the light pod. Take the medium length screw from the L bracket and place it inside the C bracket. Mount the rubber dampener and then fit the undernose mount bracket as shown here. Take a wedge locking washer and a lock nut and tighten the screws slightly, but not fully. When installing the undernose mount bracket, be careful not to pinch the cable running along the frame. In our case, placing the bracket between the cable and the bike frame is the best solution. Install the two upper screws and then the long screw to secure the bracket to the OEM mount. Align the undernose mount bracket with the C bracket and fully tighten the screw. Now, install the light pod into the C bracket. Attach the 4 screws, 2 on each side. Tighten them enough to hold the pod, but leave some slack for angle adjustments we'll go through later in this video. Remove the 2 screws of this side panel. Feed the cable up through and behind the fairing and connect it to the Y-splitter. Tuck the unit away and reattach the fairing. Before completing the installation, secure the loose cable with a zip tie and trim the excess. Repeat the whole process on the other side, then reinstall the bodywork. To fit the lone rider lights to your upper crash bars, start by removing the C bracket from the light pod. Remove the attachment screw from the bar clamp mount, then the 2 hex screws. Install the bar clamp mount as shown here. If your crash bars are powder coated, use the included 3M protection strips. If your crash bars are smaller in diameter, use one of the included rubber strips for a snug fit. Make sure the bar clamp mount is level before tightening the hex screws fully. Take the C bracket and insert the attachment screw in the front hole. Place the rubber dampener on the top and then attach the unit to the bar clamp mount. Now, install the light pod into the C bracket. Attach the 4 screws, 2 on each side. Tighten them enough to hold the pod, but leave some slack for angle adjustments we'll go through later in this video. Remove the 2 screws of this side panel. Feed the cable up through and behind the fairing and connect it to the Y-splitter. Tuck the unit away and reattach the fairing. Before completing the installation, secure the loose cable with a zip tie and trim the excess. Repeat the whole process on the other side and then reinstall the bodywork. Installing a set of Lone Rider lights on the R1300 GS Adventure takes a fair bit of work, but we'll guide you through the process step by step and show you how you can get it done on your own without any help. For a professional cable routing, the fuel tank needs to be removed and the bodywork as well. Start by removing the top panels. We strongly recommend placing all removed screws in a container as there are over 50 of them in total. But don't worry, they are all of the same design, so there's no risk of mixing them up during reassembly. Be careful when disconnecting the USB charging cable. For the bottom screw, it's necessary to use a joint adapter as this screw is hard to access. Once you remove all screws holding the side panel in place, gently pull it from the rear to take it off. Then, disconnect the auxiliary light cable. Disconnect the fuel cap cable connector. Then remove the fuel cap actuator. Remove both seats, and if your bike is equipped with seat heating, make sure to disconnect the seat heating cables. Disconnect the two hoses from the fuel tank and make sure the fuel cap cable is detached from the bodywork. To make it easier to access and disconnect the fuel hose and the fuel pump cable, use a piece of wood or something similar to help prop up the fuel tank once it's lifted. Slide the tank backwards, lift it up and place the wood underneath it to hold it in position. Disconnect the fuel pump cable. Before disconnecting the fuel hose, place a cloth underneath the connector as some fuel may leak out from the inside. But don't worry, there's a valve that prevents the tank from draining itself when the connector is unplugged. Carefully remove the fuel tank and place it on a soft surface. To cleanly install the MotoCAN, you'll need to remove the seat support frame first. Unhook this cable connection and tuck it down as shown here, as we'll be using this base for the MotoCAN harness. Locate the XDWA connector, unplug it, and connect your MotoCAN as shown here. Tuck the cable neatly out of the way. To make the routing easier, thread the harness through one connector at a time. Once the entire harness is in place, plug the Y splitter into the Y channel. If not already done during the pre-installation test run earlier in this video, connect your MotoCAN to the battery. Begin by disconnecting the negative pole to prevent accidental short circuits. Attach the orange cable with the fuse to the positive pole. Then connect the brown cable to the negative pole, ensuring the negative pole is always connected last. Make sure to route the cables cleanly to keep them tucked away. Before proceeding, check that the metal plate can sit flush on the subframe and that no cables or connectors interfere. Thread the Y cable through the frame. Gather excess cable length, secure it neatly with a zip tie, and tuck it away to keep the installation clean and organized. Connect the 1 meter extension cables to the Y splitter, then route them along the frame and up over the airbox. Pause the video here if you'd like to take a closer look at how we ran the cables. Once you're happy with the cable routing, it's time to reinstall the seat support frame. Reinstall the fuel tank and make sure to connect the fuel hose and the fuel pump cable properly. Route the fuel cap cable back through the bodywork and reconnect it. To make routing and connecting the light pod cables easier, hang the light pods using the zip ties as shown here. This step is only necessary if you're installing the system on your own. Otherwise, you can simply ask someone to hold the pods while you work. Disconnect the air intake pipe. Route the cable as shown here, making sure to use this specific spot as the entry point. Connect the light pod cables to the extension cables and keep them on the right hand side for easier refitment of the tank cover. Reinstall the tank cover, starting with reconnecting the USB charging cable. Install the zip tie guides onto the undernose mount brackets. For a smoother process, start with the center hole. Insert a screw with a washer, then place a plastic spacer on the opposite side. Make sure the light pod cable runs underneath the undernose mount bracket to prevent it from getting pinched. Tighten the center screw lightly, leaving enough slack to make it easier to install the other two screws. Move on to the lower screw next. Then finish with the upper screw. Once all three screws are in place, go back and fully tighten them. Remove the rubber dampeners that come pre-installed in the bar clamp mounts. Insert the attachment screw into the undernose mount bracket. Take a lock nut and a wedge lock washer and align them with the rear hole of the C-bracket. Place a rubber dampener on top, then attach the whole unit to the undernose mount bracket. Tighten the nut just enough so you can still make adjustments of the angles later. Secure the cable with zip ties using the plastic guides and make sure not to over-tighten them. Once both lights are installed, it's time to reassemble the rest of the bodywork. Take your time and double check that no screws are left out before moving on to the next panels. There's a 50-50 chance that your lights may be incorrectly aligned with the turn signal. To check this, turn on the ignition and perform a quick turn signal test. In our case, the lights are not properly allocated. Physically swapping the cables won't solve this, it has to be corrected through the software. To fix it, go to the functions page by clicking the arrow button in the top right corner. Here you'll see both lights with their serial numbers, the left one facing right and the right one facing left. Select the left light, then click the left facing icon to change its orientation. Repeat this for the other light to swap their order. Click apply, then perform another indicator test. Perfect, they are now correctly allocated. For most bike models, the interface will appear just as shown here. However, due to wiring harness constraints and other hardware limitations, certain features won't be available on the following bike models: the Husqvarna Norden 901 series, KTM 790 and 890 Adventure series, and the Yamaha Tenere 700 series will not have turn signal and hazard light features, nor day and night intensity separation for the DRL and wide beam. The Triumph Tiger 900 series will not have day and night intensity separation for the DRL and wide beam. For more detailed information regarding partial support and limitations, please visit ezCAN.com. It's important to note that R1300 GS owners that disconnect the OEM auxiliary lights will encounter an error message. This message is related to the OEM auxiliary lights, not the Lone Rider lights. Unfortunately, it cannot be resolved by disabling the lights in the menu system, but will need to be addressed by your local and authorized BMW dealer. Only certified BMW dealers will have the necessary hardware and software tools to connect your bike to the official BMW diagnostic software and disable the OEM auxiliary lights under the tabs Vehicle Settings, Vehicle Modifications, and Deactivation. The lights module consists of 3 sections: DRL, wide, and full beam. These can be controlled individually and have their own features and settings. Before proceeding, we recommend putting the bottom right slider to off, which will allow you to activate the wide and narrow beams when the engine is turned off. The intensity of the DRL rings can be adjusted in 10% increments and can have different settings for day and night. You can also set the DRL rings to white. By default, the flash amber with turn signals function is activated. This syncs the motorcycle lights with your turn signals, making your intentions more visible to other road users. Even if the DRL rings are set to white, they will automatically flash amber when this feature is enabled. Another feature related to the DRL rings is inverse flashing when hazard lights are active. The wide and narrow beams can also be set to turn off when signaling left or right. This also applies to the hazard lights when set to inverse flashing. The wide beam module can be set in increments of 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, 25, 50, 75 and 100%. It can also have individual presets for day and night mode. For example, you can set them to be turned off completely in day mode while having them turn on at, for example, 5% strength during night mode. Another default feature is that the wide beam will strobe rapidly when the horn is activated. You can adjust the delay between the horn signal and the strobe effect in extra settings menu, choosing anywhere from immediate response to a half-second delay. To attract more attention from other road users, you can enable the strobing function. The wide beam will strobe rapidly when you tap the flash to pass button 3 times. Modulation is an optional feature available only in day mode, which dims the wide beam up and down between 2 set points, set in extra settings. Modulation variation can be set to less and more depending on your preference. You also have the option to individually set the intensity of the narrow and wide modules when the full beam is activated. You can also lock them to follow the same intensity. Speed blending automatically turns on the spot beam when you reach a certain speed. To set the activation speed, tap the 3 dots to enter extra settings. The spot beam can be set to activate immediately at any speed or at latest by 140 km an hour or 87 miles per hour. To activate beast mode, which fires up all light modules at full intensity, including the center spot beam, tap the turn signal cancel button 3 times. To turn it off, tap the flash to pass button. Please note that it's not possible to activate the spot beam as the only light source while riding. For BMW bikes with a multi-controller or wonder wheel, you can adjust the intensity of the wide and narrow beams without using the software app, as long as this function is activated. Hold left for 3 seconds to activate this feature at any given moment, and scroll up or down to adjust the intensity. To save the setting, let everything be for 5 seconds. You can fully turn off the motorcycle lights and all their functions by pressing and holding the turn signal cancel button for 3 seconds. Press and hold again to reactivate the lights. To achieve optimal light distribution from the lone rider lights, we need to adjust both the pan and tilt angles of the light pods. Since the lights have a narrow spot beam, fine-tuning is simple and should be done on level ground with a distance of about 50 meters or 150 feet to a wall or dense vegetation. Even though you can adjust the lights by yourself, having someone sit on the bike is recommended to save time and make the process easier. This is because the suspension compresses when the bike is loaded, affecting the tilt angle. Adjusting the lights without someone sitting on the bike or parking it on their center stand will result in an incorrect tilt angle when riding. While tapping the turn signal cancel button 3 times to activate full beam including the center spot beam, we recommend activating the spot beam as the only light source. To do this, connect your computer to your MotoCAN or ezCAN, enter diagnostics from the burger menu, and slide the white channel slider all the way to the right. Click the button to the right to access the first light pod, activate the spot beam with its slider and go over to the second light pod and do the same. When adjusted correctly, the two spot beam circles should perfectly overlap each other, with the center roughly 1 to 2 meters above the ground, creating a seamless 1-to-1 alignment. Once you're happy with the setup, tighten all 4 screws on each light pod. We strongly recommend that you always bring the included tools on every ride, should you need to do further adjustments or retightenings. And with that, our tutorial on how to prepare, install and customize your Lone Rider lights is complete. By following our step-by-step guide, you'll be able to get the most out of them for years to come. As mentioned in the beginning of this video, since this is an electronic product with dedicated software, we're continuously working on improvements. Once a software update is available, we'll make sure to notify you via email so you can enjoy your lights with its latest features. If you have any questions or need additional support, don't hesitate to reach out using the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and as always, ride safe.